The golden savanna stretched beautifully under the sunset. Aya, once the mightiest lion of his pride, now moved with a slow, labored gait. His fur, once thick and lustrous, hung loosely over a frame that time and hardship had whittled down. The years had blunted his once sharp claws and dimmed his piercing vision, but the hunger gnawing at his belly burned brighter than ever. Since being dethroned by a younger, stronger lion, Aya had lived on the fringes, scavenging scraps and chasing fleeting shadows. The lion cannot eat grass, Aya thought, determined, as he prowled from dawn to dusk, his empty stomach a cruel metronome marking each hour. Yet the usual grazing grounds were deserted, the air eerily still. Even the sky seemed sparse, the birds conspicuously absent. Aya paused, his gaze lifting to the sky. "Is someone warning them of my arrival?" he muttered, his voice hoarse. His stomach growled again, a sharp, fiery twist that made him wince. He closed his eyes, breathed deeply, and willed the pain to subside. But hunger is an unrelenting foe. "I must eat," he resolved, his voice barely above a whisper. He pressed on, his muscles straining with each step, until his sharp eyes caught movement. A rabbit, nibbling on grass atop a mound of dry branches. Aya's heart quickened. This was his chance. Without hesitation, he charged, his powerful legs propelling him forward in a flash. The rabbit's ears twitched. It turned his head, its eyes wide with alarm, but it was too late. Aya was already airborne, his claws outstretched. The rabbit darted, but Aya's paw was fast as it struck its hind leg, sending it tumbling. Victory was within reach, Aya thought. Aya lunged again, but the ground beneath him immediately gave way. With a deafening crack, the dry branches splintered, and Aya plunged into a concealed pit. His hind leg sank first, and he scrambled to grab hold of a tree branch bridging the opening. He clung there, panting, his claws digging into the rough bark. Below him, the pit yawned like a dark abyss, ready to consume him. The rabbit, limping but alive, stopped a few paces away. For a moment it hesitated, then turned back, its eyes gleaming with mischief. It hopped toward a nearby stone and, with surprising strength, lifted it. "What are you doing?" "Stop!" Aya roared, panic sharpening his tone. The rabbit said nothing. With a determined leap, it slammed the stone onto the branch. The wood cracked, then shattered. Aya plummeted into the pit, his roar echoing through the jungle until it was abruptly silenced by the dull thud of his body hitting the bottom. He blacked out. Osondu the deer raced through the forest, his hooves barely touching the ground. Excitement and worry battled within his mind. His wife had given birth unexpectedly, and though the news filled him with joy, he felt unprepared. Financial worries tugged at his mind. However, his co-workers' congratulations and his boss's promise of support had uplifted his spirits. He sprinted through the forest, alternating between jogging and dashing, his breath fast and shallow. As he neared a bushy area, he heard a faint sound, a cry for help. He slowed down, his head swiveling, ears twitching. The sound came again, this time louder. Osondu spotted a pit to his left. He hesitated, his instinct screaming at him to leave, but something, perhaps curiosity or compassion, drew him closer. Peering into the pit, he saw a lion sprawled at the bottom, its golden fur matted with dirt. Aya looked up, desperation etched across his face. "Help me," the lion croaked. "I've been here for days. Please, you're my only hope." Osondu's heart raced. "How do I know you won't eat me if I help you?" he asked warily. "I swear on the heavens and earth, on the gods of every corner of this world, that I will never harm you," Aya pleaded, tears glistening in his eyes. "Please have mercy." After a moment's hesitation, Osondu nodded. He found a rope and tossed one end into the pit, then braced himself as Aya climbed. Every muscle in Osondu's body strained under the lion's weight, but he held firm until at last Aya emerged. The lion exhaled deeply, his lips curling into a relieved smile. Osondu lay on the ground, catching his breath. Soon he noticed Aya staring at him. The gaze felt too intense, too calculated. Slowly, Osondu rose, uneasy, and was about to leave. "My friend," Aya began, extending his hand for a handshake. As Osondu shook him, he seized his hands, maintaining a firm, hurtful grip. "I am grateful for your help," he continued, his voice low and trembling, "but I must ask for one more favor." "What is it?" Osondu asked, wearing a smile. "Let me eat you," Aya said simply, as if he wasn't talking about taking his life. Osondu froze. "What?" "I'm starving," Aya said, his voice steadier now. "I'll die if I don't eat. You've saved my life once." "Save it again." Fury and fear surged through Osondu. "You swore. You promised," he shouted. "I have a new wife and a son I haven't seen. I was going to the hospital to visit and see my son for the first time before I ran into you." The two animals argued endlessly. In the middle of their argument, a figure passed by slowly. Ako and Uche, the ancient tortoise and jungle's chief judge, hobbled past them. Despite his wrinkled face and slow steps, his presence commanded respect. Without hesitation, the two animals called him to judge their case. They both started rambling. Speaking over one another, Aya spoke first, then Osondu interjected, pleading his case. Ako and Uche stood still, watching both of them. When it seemed like none of them was talking anymore, Ako and Uche spoke for the first time. "I do not understand what you guys are saying, I have a hearing problem. So can you both please reenact what happened so I can understand? I might not hear well, but I can see." Ako and Uche said, trying to convince them. Both of them still hesitated and kept looking at him. "Unless you don't want me to judge your case, then I will take my leave," Ako and Uche says, this time more persuasively. The lion not wanting to miss his meal, and in desperation not to be viewed as a cold-blooded, ungrateful murderer, agreed. He believes the wise one will see things from his perspective. Aya climbed back into the pit. Osondu retrieved the rope and was about to go back and reenact things as proposed. Suddenly a hand held him by the wrist. It was Ako and Uche. "Your name is Osondu, correct?" he asked, his voice suddenly sharp. Osondu nodded. "Run," Ako and Uche commanded. Without a second thought, Osondu bolted. By the time Aya realized what had happened, he was alone, trapped once more in the pit, his roars of frustration echoing into the empty sky.